I just want to thank Libby for helping us facilitate this dialogue with their members. Thanks to Mitch and leadership, and to people in the IA industry for making themselves available to, help create a dialogue between Libby members and the industry to learn more about these new technologies. Over the past, I don't think there's any mystery. Libby knows quite well that the lack of sewers throughout Suffolk County is a significant issue and challenge. Libby's been very active in recent years in trying to address those concerns. We do know that for many areas of Suffolk County, however, sewers are not an economic or practical solution. And in those areas, instead of continuing to rely on cesspools and septic systems, which have been identified as a primary source of excess nutrients that are fouling our bays and harbors and ultimately our groundwater, we have been, over the past 7 years, setting the stage for an evolution away from the use of cesspools and septic systems in areas where sewers aren't practical or economic, to the use of these new IA systems. It's been a careful, I think, and a deliberative process. The county had been under pressure since about 2014 to simply require the use of IA systems in new construction. And in fact, many of the towns out here, Brookhaven, Southampton, East Hampton, some of the villages have already put those requirements in place. But, a county executive at the time said, we can't do that. You can't just impose that requirement. There are a bunch of things that are building blocks we need to do first. We need to vet these technologies and make sure that they're effective. We need to create and make sure there's an industry established to support the installation and the maintenance of these new systems. And there is a new industry out here. You're going to hear from many of the guys who are doing this work today. And we need to complete a plan that explains what our goals are going to be over time in terms of the installation of these systems. And so we waited until we had vetted all the technologies, built an industry. There was a tremendous investment in that industry. You'll hear from these guys today. And we then began to make decisions about regulatory pieces of this. The county did not make decisions unilaterally. Instead, we convened a working group, what we call the Article 6 working group, that involves a whole host of representatives from state, local governments, from Libby, from Long Island Board of Realtors, from other stakeholder groups. And I want to thank Libby for making Mitch available. He's been a constant presence throughout these discussions over the past 4 or 5 years, and a very vociferous advocate for Libby and his members. And we appreciate that. He always has good perspective. And when the general consensus was that we should finally enact the requirement that IA systems be installed as part of new construction, Mitch was accepting, but asked for additional time for the effective date, asked that instead of the originally proposed effective date, I think of January 1st, 2021, that the effective date be pushed back to give industry more time to deal with it. And stakeholders agreed to do that. We're at the point now where the requirement is about to become effective, and we want to make sure that it's easy for industry, as easy as it can be, and that's one of the reasons that we're here. We've learned a lot over the past 6 years about these systems. One of the things we've learned is that there's a real need to make sure people get value for their dollar when one of these systems is installed, whether they're replacing one at their residence or installing one as part of new construction. We want to make sure that people are paying what they should and are not overcharged. I'll just give you examples of things that drove that home for us. Early on in our process, we were in a meeting with a not-for-profit and talking about a situation in which a member of their staff was having a cesspool replaced, not one of these new IA systems. But the cost of replacing a cesspool at the time reasonably would be between $5,000 and $6,000. But you can imagine when a homeowner's cesspool fails and they're not able to flush their toilet, they want to rectify that problem quickly. This woman who worked for the not-for-profit explained she left the task of arranging for the replacement to her husband, who agreed to put $12,000 on a credit card to pay for the system. We found that a little bit alarming. A cesspool example, but still an indication that you need to make sure you're getting value for your dollar. The second case was a family member of another not-for-profit who wanted to install an IA on a property he owned in Blue Point. requested a quote from an industry rep and got a quote of $32,000 from somebody who hadn't even visited his site and was concerned about that. And after we were able to peel that estimate away a little bit, we found out that that job should probably cost closer to $20,000. An example in Montauk, where staff was told that a replacement system was going to be installed and the project cost had been cited at $70,000, because in Montauk there are very thick layers of clay that prevents drainage. When staff took a look at that job, they recommended that the homeowner, instead of creating new drainage, reutilize the existing drainage on the system. The cost estimate in that instance dropped from $70,000 to $20,000. And then finally, the last example we became aware of was an example in Sayville, a job on Terry Street, where the homeowner was using our grant program to do an IA installation to replace a cesspool, and was being quoted about $40,000. And when our staff took a look at that, the engineer who had planned that job was proposing to locate the system in a place on the property which required that they relocate both a gas main and a water main, which would add significant cost to that job. So by simply redesigning the project and installing the system in a location where you didn't need to relocate a gas main and water main, you can drive down costs. All of these are an indication that we need to be mindful of the fact that we want people to get value for their dollar. It's one of the issues that we hope that you'll learn more about today. As part of our grant program, we have issued what's called the solicitation of quotes and requested fixed pricing from manufacturers for the systems that they install. We'll be providing information for you, and we'll be looking forward to answering any questions that you may have. We have a tremendous amount of information to share, but we don't consider this to be a one-time engagement or event. We consider our relationship with Libby and the cooperation we've received to be a very important part of our overall water quality effort. We look forward to continuing this dialogue after today's event is done. And I'll turn it back over now to staff from the Health Department. Just introduce the Deputy Commissioner, Christina Capobianco, is with us. Walter DeWittiak, the Chief of Division of Environmental Quality, John Sajan, Principal Public Health Engineer, Ken Ziegel, who's I'm sorry, he's the Chief of the Office of Ecology, and Julia Priolo, who's operating our IA programs. I'll turn it back over to the Health Department, folks.
Let me just say something before that, Peter. On behalf of Libby, we tremendously appreciate the county's communication with us, willingness to include us in all the various activities and committee meetings and everything. We tremendously appreciate it. One thing that is clear, and I've said to my members, there have been no fiats in regard from the county. It's all been a cooperative venture, a variety of discussions, sometimes a lot of discussion, depending on the issue, and that's always good because I think the answers we came up with are beneficial, and we appreciate this opportunity. Some of these people are Libby members, some of them are not, and we've had communication with them, over the last couple of months as the new requirement is going into effect for new homes, and we'll make sure that whatever materials are on the PowerPoint, we will also get out to our members, especially our single family home members, in the next day or two, so that they can communicate, and if they have direct questions that they want me to provide or they want to provide, we'll get them back to Ken directly so we can provide the appropriate answers, if that's okay.
Yeah, that'd be great. I just want to, I neglected to acknowledge the participation of another critically important member of the county's water quality team, who would be Dorian Dale, the Director of Sustainability and Chief Recovery Officer. Thanks, Dorian. Back to the Health Department.
All right. Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Mitch. So real quick summary of today's agenda. So in short, recent code amendments, some of which are already in effect, are going to take July 1st. So Health Department has prepared a short presentation just to run through some of those code amendments, some of the outreach we've done, as Peter mentioned before, for solicit quotation, both for retrofits as well as some recent information on the cost of innovative alternative systems for new construction. Once we run through our 10-minute presentation, we're not going to hold the stage too long. really we want to hand things over to presentations from each of the distributors that we have joining us today for the 7 systems that are currently have provisional approval in the county. Following each presentation, there'll be about 5 minutes technology specific Q&A. Anybody who has questions, feel free to throw them in a chat box as you think of them, and then we'll get to them at the end there. If we have additional time at the end, we have an additional, we can do some additional Q&A. Housekeeping, I don't think we have to worry too much, but obviously keep phones on mute. As Peter mentioned before, we're hoping that this is just the start of a long-term process that involves continuous open communication between maybe the distributors, installers, and the county to make sure this transition to innovative alternative systems is as effective as possible. So that being said, Walt, our director, was going to run through just some of the efforts, to combine efforts between the county and Libby that have really strengthened our relationship in this program here in the last couple of years.
That's an interesting picture. Who found that one?
Mitch, we have dozens of them. It was hard to pick the best one.
Yeah, this is going to be horrible.
So my name is Walter Wodiak. As Ken mentioned, it's an honor to be here. I'm just going to take 1 minute to echo some of Peter's sentiments about our relationship with Libby. I've been in this department for well over 30 years now, and in my opinion, this is the best time to be in the health department, not only because we have such exciting and progressive watershed environmental health initiatives that are going to benefit both the environment and the economy, but because it's really a landmark time to be part of our customer service group. We get the fact that we're here to serve the public, including Libby. We made a lot of efforts to make sure everything is fair and predictable and transparent, and that we have the best mutually agreeable solutions and workable solutions that are administratively efficient as well as effective for their intended purpose. So some of you have been around long enough to remember what our backlogs were like in the 1990s and 2000s. It was not at all uncommon to have a 3 to 6 month wait just to have somebody look at a piece of paper. Since 2012, the Performance Management Group came in and they overhauled process, personnel, and technology. First thing they did is improve the application process to make sure that things that would kill an application didn't wait 8 weeks so that you had to start from square one. So something as simple as floor plans are flagged up front. We made a lot of beneficial improvements up front. On personnel, we're fully staffed. Wastewater has never had more people. We added a person to our sewage treatment plant program for training for capacity and redundancy. That's one of our fastest growing programs. I've never seen a bunch of engineers and sanitarians that have been so effective and engaged. And on the technology, we've implemented the environmental health information management system, so the plan review is electronic. This particular slide shows everything just in the last couple of years where we really picked up the pace. We have routine meetings with Mitch and engineers in the industry. We went live with the EHIMS program in 2020. The Appendix A modifications to increase capacity and modify setbacks for commercial and mixed uses became effective in 2020. The minor variance process has been a huge help. Roughly a third of our applications are now processed as minors, are much quicker and more efficient. Life goes on much better with the minor variance process in place, and the majors still get a full and fair hearing as needed. Our sewage treatment plant capacity evaluation guidance memo 26 was overhauled to become clearer, allowing reevaluation of surplus flow with less than 3 years of data with board of review. We've changed our sewage treatment plant sizing design criteria for nitrogen based on actual flow for residential uses to allow for smaller and less expensive, more efficient sewage treatment plants with smaller footprints, which are a benefit for everybody, including the environment. We've clarified a bunch of procedures, things like covenants, foundation-only permits, other pollution control permits, other health department permits like pollution control. These were gray areas that were not necessarily transparent. In an effort to make the process more clear, those have been summarized, and along Mitch's recommendation, we prepared a proposal for sewage treatment plant surplus capacity evaluation for both environmental health protection as well as potential growth. That's going to be undergoing an evaluation and EIS process if it's funded by the county, and we have some state funds to supplement that. So The pace has picked up. We've done a lot of great things in the last couple of years. We want to keep this going. This virtual trade show is one example. It's very exciting to us that we're able to bring some of the very progressive and effective principles that took advantage of the county septic demo program in a very short time, came to market with very effective and cost-effective systems with some of the people that will be using them in the near future. So that's my mile-high background on Libby. We're reserving any questions for the end of every presentation, then we'll have a general Q&A period at the end of this, and I'm going to turn it back over to Ken. And thanks to all for participating.
Thank you, Walt. So, so again, it's no secret why we're here. Requirements for new construction, innovative alternative systems at new construction and major reconstruction take effect July 1st, 2021. I'm not going to spend too much time on this slide. The other thing I wanted to mention was just as part of this sanitary code change, we also increased the allowable flow for Appendix A systems, these small prepackaged sewage treatment plants that can get down to well under 10 milligrams per liter from 15,000 gallons per day to 30,000 gallons per day. We also reduced the setbacks for those systems under certain environments and land uses, especially in commercial areas. And the goal there was really to facilitate their more widespread use in Suffolk County. It's an important tool for the environment. It's also an important tool for to support economic growth and development, such as in downtown Hamlet areas. So if anybody's interested, I did want to mention two things. One, we're going to record this presentation today and this information, so we can share that, Mitch, with your group afterwards as needed. In addition, as you know, Mitch, there were presentations this week on Monday and on Wednesday regarding the overall sanitary code changes and standard changes. So we can also share those if you don't have them already, which could be shared with your group if there's additional detailed questions on the sanitary code changes. So Suffolk County, through Article 19 of the Suffolk County Sanitary Code, I think as many folks on the call know, has the most rigorous testing and approval process for innovative alternative technologies in the United States. Not only does the sanitary code set forth the approval process for the systems, but it also establishes the Department of Health Services as a responsible management entity, providing the authority to oversee the installation and maintenance of these systems. In short, really, everybody can feel comfortable that the systems that are going in the ground are going to be effective and are going to be maintained properly over the life of the system. And so through our rigorous testing and approval process, we currently have 7 technologies from 5 manufacturers that have been demonstrated effective in the county and have received what we call provisional use approval in the county. So in a few minutes, again, I'm not going to keep the stage too long here. I'm going to turn things over to each of the distributors to describe each of their systems and relative costs. And real quick, I just also wanted to mention, while we do have the 7 technologies for the provisional approval, there are additional technologies that are out there that are currently in the experimental and pilot approval phase. If anybody's ever interested in looking at some of these other technologies, feel free to reach out to the department for additional information. Any of this information can be found on our Reclaim Our Water website with the links found at the bottom of the slide. So this slide just presents a summary of each of the distributors' contact information. Many of the folks you're going to hear from today, and obviously, again, we'll share this slide deck with Libby following today's meeting. Hopefully this could be a one-stop shop for your members to find contact information for the different major distributors. And in the next few slides, I just wanted to present a brief summary of probably what a lot of your members want to know. What do innovative alternative systems cost in Suffolk County? And Peter already touched upon this. At the onset of the program, the county recognized the importance of making sure that the installation of IA systems in a county is affordable to the homeowners and to the building industry. So one of the first things we did was release this solicitation of quotations for systems under a variety of scenarios in the county. This information is then published on our Reclaim Our Water website. Again, the link's on the bottom there. for homeowner education and public education. It's currently under the county septic improvement program, link on the Wickham Water website. And these slides really just present a summary of that information. I can't remember exactly how many scenarios, but there's quite a few scenarios posted on the information for upgrades. Most of these costs represent the cost for installation of what I'm going to call a retrofit of an existing system, but many of these costs can also be carried over for scenarios for new construction as well. So there's a significant volume of pricing information on the Reclaim Our Water website, and we certainly encourage everyone to go onto the website to review that information. And again, reach out to the department if you have any questions. In our continuing efforts to provide value under the program, we also wanted to make sure, again, that the builders community is educated on the systems, including what is reasonable expectations for new costs, for the costs upon new construction. This slide presents a summary of some of what the typical costs are for actual sites throughout Suffolk County. For retrofits, replacement costs are a little bit higher, as we would expect. There's additional obstacles that have to be overcome, potentially putting the system in a place that's not ideal. Peter touched upon some of those issues before. So we have a huge database of actual costs based on our septic improvement program, over 400 actual quotes or installation costs. Roughly the cost of a retrofit is coming in just under $25,000 in the county. We also reached out to the installers in the industry to get prices for what are the costs coming in for new construction on vacant land. And so thank you to the industry again for stepping up and supporting this effort. We wanted to look at both, all right, what do we expect relative, what is the relative cost increase or additional cost of a typical site for an IA system versus what would have been the cost for a conventional system. And so we got 12 quotes for innovative alternative systems. The average cost came in around $19,600. We received nine quotes for conventional systems on similar sites, which came in around $10,600. So the average cost differential between the two is just under $9,000, around $8,900. I did want to quickly mention a few notes here just on these costs. So the SIP costs include multiple leaching scenarios, which include what we call these pressurized shallow drain fields, which I'm going to mention in a minute. So some of those costs are a little higher for those alternate leaching technologies. These costs also do not include, especially the cost for new construction, potential cost savings for installations of multiple installations or multiple installs at once. Could be on the same street at the same time, could be part of a new subdivision or development. So there's also going to be additional cost savings for situations where the installer is installing multiple systems. And then the last major point that I wanted to share with the building industry, just so they're aware of this, is that one of the new changes with the sanitary code through this entire program was the allowance of additional types of leaching technologies, which can occur because of the innovative alternative systems. The innovative alternative systems treat the water better than a conventional system. Because of that, the effluent can be put through what we call pressurized shallow drain fields. The unique thing about these pressurized shallow drain fields is that in sites that have challenging conditions, again, Peter mentioned some of these before, but extremely high groundwater sites where a retaining wall system would have normally had to been put in the ground. A retaining wall itself can cost $30,000 to $40,000. Sites with extremely poor soils in certain situations, it takes, you got to dig down 40 to 60 feet just to get to sand and gravels that are required under the old sanitary code. These new PSTs allow you to avoid those situations. And so where a typical cost of a conventional system under these challenging site conditions might cost upwards of greater than $40,000, in these situations, the builders and everybody should be aware that the typical cost for an innovative alternative system followed by a pressurized shallow drain field can come in somewhere around $26,000. So that being said, as I mentioned, I was going to keep our presentation short and sweet so we can get to the meat of our presentation with our distributors. Obviously, if there's any questions, if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to the septic demo. septic demo website, the general number here. You're always welcome to contact me directly or Julie directly as well.
And can I ask one question before we move on?
Sure.
We had conversations, I remember back when, about the possibility of one of these IA systems being able to do multiple homes at the same time. Is that still an option yet, or still being reviewed, or where are we with that issue? Because I remember that conversation came up.
Yep, and it's something that we are at the county very interested in as well. There are some challenges right now in terms of state laws requiring sewer agency agreements, and John or Walt or Peter, anybody, feel free to correct me if I say something incorrect, but there's certain challenges for doing that right now. One of the things, Mitch, that you know that we are looking at is the pursuit of countywide district.
Right.
Some of those legal challenges and challenges that sometimes obfuscate the use of shared systems would absolutely be overcome if a district was established. It would give streamlined authority to allow the installation of those shared systems. But right now, there's definitely some challenges. It can be done, Mitch. It's legally, it can be done, but due to some of the regulatory requirements, like the sewer agency agreement, sometimes it becomes a challenge, cost prohibitive, so to speak, or a timely process to actually get to the point where it's the approval takes place.
Okay.
This is Walt. I wanted to point out, I mean, we have had examples of developments that have come in the door in a condo format where 2 or 3 of these condos might share one IA system, and there might be more than one IA system. This is a case where you have an HOA already that is a legally cognizant entity that's managing these things. So as Ken pointed out, number one, you need a legal corporate entity. Number two, with multiple property lines, you need a sewer agency approval, which is long, cumbersome, and expensive. So there are workarounds to that, but as Ken pointed out, the best workaround is to form a district umbrella and to provide the legal framework to get this done much more efficiently and cheaply, which we don't have the ability to do just yet.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So that being said, let's hand things over to our distributors who have graciously joined us, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen, Julia, and let you take it away.
Okay, so I have the presentation up on the screen, starting off with Hydro Action. So Joe Denzieski from Hydro Action, distributor on Long Island. Feel free to take it away. Just lose Joe. We might have just lost him, but we can go back to Hydro Action once he's able to log back on.
Yeah.
We're going to go down to the Norweco presentation from Roman Stone Systems, Tom Montalbine.
Yes, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Tom Montalbine, and I am the president of Roman Stone Construction Company. I want to thank Mitch Pally and the health department and the rest of the Libby members for allowing me to present to you today. First off, I'd like to mention that as a manufacturer located here on Long Island, I share your concerns about the increased costs for supplies, as well as the difficulties you face trying to pass along those increased costs to your finished products. So, that were estimated months ago. So anyhow, I just want to talk a little bit here about Roman Stone. We've been incorporated in New York State since 1903. And originally, the business was started by 5 brothers who came over from Italy through Ellis Island. And in 1962, we moved out here to Suffolk County. We became a Norweco distributor back in 2014 when this was first starting to get off the ground. We thought it was a good way to spread out our product line into something new. In 2016, we won approval to sell the Norweco systems in Suffolk County. In 2018, we formed a wholly owned subsidiary now called Roman Stone Systems. And in 2021, now we've expanded our wastewater product offerings to include infiltrator products and leaching galleys. We currently employ over 58 residents of Suffolk County. We are a union shop, and our drivers and our employees are all union members. Julia, you are doing the slides, right? Yes, I'm sorry. Okay, so we actually sell two systems. The first one's called the Singulair TNT. It's an approved denitrification system, single tank solution, restores watersheds. We manufacture this tank here in Bay Shore. We can make it traffic rated or non-traffic rated. There is also a plastic option that's built in Ohio. We've been struggling with our results, but Norweco has been working very, very hard. Norweco is one of the largest wastewater equipment manufacturers in the country, and they have come up with some new solutions, and we think we're going to be back in the mix very shortly with our 2.0 system. Next slide, please. Like I said, we also have a plastic tank solution. Our concrete tanks weigh anywhere from 12,000 pounds and up, depending on the size. We can provide a plastic tank that does the same thing if there's access difficulties with the site. The second system that we have is also called the hydrokinetic system. It's also approved, and it's 5 tanks, 5 chambers. It's a little longer treatment train. It's a little more costly, but it actually performs better. We can also make this in concrete or plastic. Norweco, like I said, is one of the largest equipment manufacturers in the country, and they have a lifetime exchange warranty on the aerator in the Singulair tank. If something happens to that part, we swap it out with a rebuilt one. We send it back to Norweco. They repair it, and for a small charge. This is good for the lifetime of the part. I know aesthetically, Libby members are concerned about how these things look, so I just want to go through a couple of things here. There is going to be a control panel that controls the septic tank, the treatment tank. This unit that we sell is called the WASP. It has alarm lights on top. It's a gasketed waterproof enclosure. It could be mounted on a post, or it can be mounted on the side of the house. If the alarm goes off, there is a way to silence it and then call for service. But you know, it has to be outside the house. It can't be hidden away in the garage. Next, please. Another thing that Libby members must be concerned about is, you know, how aesthetically how these look. And we understand that a lot of people have problems with this. The covers have to come to grade. The covers are locked down with screws. They can't come out. You know, you don't have to worry about people falling in. Underneath these covers, there's a secondary cover just as backup. The plastic covers, you know, when they are set to grade, they do stick up above grade, but once the grass grows on them, they kind of blend in. We also offer a cast iron cover, which I think is just aesthetically more pleasing, and that is super secure and obviously can't be damaged by lawn equipment and things like that. Next, please. One of the things that we offer as Roman Stone, we have self-unloading boom trucks. we can actually back to the hole, the prepared hole, and drop this in the ground for them. So it's very easy to install one of these tanks, even if it's made of concrete. But the plastic ones also, they could be, carried around by small equipment. Next, please. I put this slide together. Don't really, have a lot of experience with this, but I do know that some of the things that go into the cost of putting in a conventional system are shared with the new IA systems. So, for example, you still need an excavator. You're still going to have to dig a hole. So I'm just saying the cost. There's no real price difference. Labor to install the tank. You're still going to need laborers on the ground. Somebody's got to, after the hole is dug, they got to level the surface. And like I said, we could back to the hole and drop it in, or the excavator himself can put it in. You're still going to need to pipe the house to the septic tank, and then the septic tank to the drain field. So those costs are all the same. They really don't cost any more, whether it's an IA or a conventional. The main cost is the difference in the structure. So the Norweco system is about $8,600, and a conventional 1250 gallon per day tank is about $2,000 delivered. Also, the IA systems do need an electrical supply. We have to power that control panel that I showed you earlier. But because this is a new home, I'm sure you're already going to have an electrician on site. Normally, if we're retrofitting a house that's already in existence, we're talking about $1,000 to $1,200 for an electrician to come in and do the work. But since you already have an electrician on site, I'm sure you already have a circuit available, and so I put down as a guesstimate, an extra $500 maybe to run one circuit, 120 amp circuit out to the tank. You're still going to need a drain field for a 4 bedroom home. An 8x12 cesspool can suffice. The motor or the aerator for the tank, it's like running a light bulb for the year, so it probably costs you about $100. There is a service agreement. We do have to maintain the system twice a year, which costs about $300. So all told, I came up with $7,500. I don't know if this is the information you were looking for, but this is how I interpreted what was being asked for by Julia. Next slide, please. One of the things you might be concerned with is for Libby members, you guys are providing a warranty on the homes that you provide. Besides having the lifetime warranty on the aerator, these things need to be maintained. So the parts, like for example, the Singular has a filter. Now this filter is reusable. What we do is when we go out, we maintain, we pull the filter, we bring it over to the pre-treatment side of the tank, we hose it off, and then we put it back in. So there's no continued purchasing of components. The motor gets cleaned and checked, and then we also take a sludge judge and determine how much buildup is inside the tank. Once it reaches a certain level, we do advise the homeowner to pump it, but this is actually a good thing for the homeowner. And with a concrete tank, it's going to last 100 years in the ground. You're not going to have to worry about it as a warranty item on your home. Next, please. Like I said, Norweco, Roman Stone Systems is now a full-service wastewater products distributor. We do sell leaching galleys, conventional septic tanks up to 2,000 gallons, plastic tanks. We distribute Tough Tight and Polylock. We sell pump stations and cast iron frames and covers, as well as infiltrator ATLs and quick 4 chambers. Here's my contact information. We're located in Bayshore. If you would like to come down and see the plant, we are a New York State DOT approved precast plant. We typically make a highway barrier. We service products for all the towns and villages on Long Island, as well as Con Edison, DOTs, Nassau County, Suffolk County. That's the kind of work we do. And I want to just thank everybody again for letting me speak today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tom. We can go over any questions that anyone has on Roman Stone in general or Norrico before we move on to the next presentation. And understandable if that was a pretty clear presentation. So we have your contact information here if anyone has additional questions. Let's see.
Just a comment, I thought that was a very useful delineation that Tom provided between conventional and advanced installs. I think it's very sound and should certainly be evidentiary as to the real numbers that are involved with this. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you very much. Joe, I see you're back with us. Would you like to do your presentation now? I'll run the slides. So you're on mute right now, but I can unmute you.
How about now?
We can hear you.
Good Lord. I think somebody's sending a bullet through my computer because all of a sudden it went dead as soon as I knew I was going on. I couldn't get anything. So now I'm on my phone. You can't hack me now. All right.
Well, we got your presentation up here, so you don't have to worry about that.
All righty. Here we go. All right. So, all right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining this call today. I'm kind of trying to figure out how I'm going to do this through my phone, but I will figure it out. Obviously, I'm Joe Doniseski. I'm the regional distributor for the hydro-auction product. We're really concentrating mostly here on Long Island, but I do all of the Northeast. My contact information is right there should anybody need to contact us for any information needed. Okay, you can go to the next slide. Okay, some of the products that we have basically every system you could do for any new construction on homes. AN 400s, 4-bedroom houses, 500s, 5 bedrooms. The AN 500 concrete tank is good for high water applications, driveway situations, and that treats 550 gallons per day or less. Also can be used for commercial. We have tank risers for low line systems that brings the covers up higher to grade. We can go an additional 4 foot deeper than most of the IA systems, and we use the concrete one for that. The AN 600, 800, and 1100 are exactly what they are for as far as treatment of gallons and homes, bedrooms, 6, 8, 10. We also have the AN 1500, which is pending approval. We're working on that right now for residential applications. Some additional products. We also have an effluent pump tank. So for pressurized leaching fields or to pump water to remote locations, meaning that we have a situation right now we're working on where we're putting a treatment unit in a very, very tight spot where it's the only place it can go where the pipe's coming out of the house, but the leaching field needs to be all the way on the other side of the house. So if we could just put in a effluent pump tank after the tank and pump it, remotely uphill, downhill, whatever, and get it over to the leaching field where it needs to be dispersed and taken care of. It's hard for me to see this. Hold on. H20 concrete for all hydro-action tanks. So we have a concrete kit now that will go. This is actually new to this year. Basically for 5-bedroom or 550 gallons and under, we can use the whole tank, the concrete tank itself, which is about 12,500 pounds total. But we can also use a concrete kit for the 600, 800, and 1100, where we can split the tanks in half and do precast rings and H20 covers over them. We can do that job in one day. So we can install the tank, install the concrete kit, backfill, do everything we need to do on that job, and drive a tractor trailer over it that day. Very effective and very cost effective to put them together for whether we need it residential or even commercial projects. Chlorination and UV disinfection, we can kill off all the pathogens in the wastewater and use our water for irrigation. This is all county approved stuff that we need to, have approval with them for, but we do have that technology. New coming soon, we have complete commercial and residential lift stations. So for pool houses, remote locations that we need the water, the pre-treated water, not effluent, we need influent wastewater pumped in simplex or duplex pump stations from a pool house or a secondary structure on a property to the pump tank. We also have those pump tanks that will be available. Next slide, please. Okay, effluent testing. So the testing for the hydro action system, we're a class 1 system. We meet class 1 specifications as per Suffolk County. BOD averages is less than 10 milligrams per liter. TSS less than 10. Our effluent pH is between 6 and 8, which is 7, which is neutral. So test results have been absolutely perfect coming out of these systems. And our nitrogen average is around 10, a little below 10 on some instances, and a little bit above, mostly figure right around 10. So the system is working very, very good. Next slide, please. Estimated costs for install costs. I know this is the big, let's say, monkey in the room. King Kong, 4-bedroom treatment unit, $76.25. Setup for riser cost $650. Electrical hookup. This is based on new construction. So usually when you have an electrician on the site, he's already there. Pretty much, got open walls and everything, knows where everything's going. We're seeing anywhere from $500, $750 to get the electric where it needs to go for the job. The total cost for the tank is $8,800. Give or take here or there, but that's a 4-bedroom basic construction. If you go with a 1,200-gallon septic tank with risers, covers, delivered to the job, because the 8,800 is with delivery, you can look at $2,000 in material cost. So the total difference is about $6,800. What we try to get across, and this goes for all of us in this IA industry, is that the pipe from the house to any one of these units is the same in every installation. It's 10 foot, 12 foot, 15 foot of 4-inch SDR pipe regardless. And it gets to the tank. So you got the cost of the tank, which is the difference there. After the structures, the leaching field is exactly the same for all of us. It doesn't matter what tank you have. Whatever IA tank you're using, you're still using the same leaching field, and it's the same size. I'd say 10 out of 10 times. And if I'm wrong, I can be corrected, but I believe that's the standard. So the rest of the costs and labor to install are the same. So labor and equipment costs should be roughly the same for an IA install and a standard system install. Basically on new construction, there is definitely a difference with the county program when that comes into effect, but that doesn't really affect Libby members. Libby members are mostly doing new construction. Some are doing remodeling where they may have to upgrade down the road. Those situations where if you're doing a home and you're doing an upgrade to a home construction and you needed to upgrade to a new IA system, those situations could change because you're dealing with a home that was already being used. So you're going to have walkways and driveways and mature trees and stuff like that could also add to these projects. But on a regular basis, it's really only the difference in the cost of the tank itself, the septic tank itself. The machinery to dig the hole is about the same. I can ramble on forever on that one, but I'll take the next slide, please. Operational costs. Okay, so for the basic, it gets a little bit more cost effective the larger the system you get, but you can bring that down depending on how many you have on a project. But the basic yearly operational costs for the hydro action is between $250 a year and $300 a year. That'll consist of a visit every 6 months. That's all we need to do is visit our system every 6 months to visit the system, do the testing on the sludge levels that are in the tank, and check the alarm, make sure that the floats are working, get off some of the floatable scum layer that develop, and any organic material that may sink in our pre-tank. We can always just vacuum that out of the bottom like a pool. Very easy to do. Electrical consumption, estimated about $11 per month, $132 a year to run the hydro action system. We have one recirculation pump inside of the tank, and we have a small air pump outside of the tank. But those are the actual electrical numbers based on today's electrical costs. Total operating costs of the system per year is $380 to $430 per year, pending on the size of the tank. One thing I forgot to say is that in our maintenance costs, there is different contractors out there. I try to get them to include the pumping costs of any excess sludge. With a hydro action system, if we go to do maintenance on them and we do a test on the effluent, well, the effluent water, there is no sludge in it. But if we check the sludge levels in the aeration chamber or in the pre-tank, and the levels are getting a little bit high in there, because that's the only process that these tanks don't have, is a wasting process where you get rid of the excess sludge. Every single system has to get rid of their excess sludge. There's no system out there that is not going to have any excess sludge in their system, and there is no system out there that will not need to be pumped. They will need to be pumped. It's just a matter of how often do you have to pump them, and how often do you have to pump them to keep them clean and to keep them operating at 100%. With our tank, we show up every 6 months. Most likely within that 6 months, if we take a test, we see our sludge levels are starting to get a little high, we'll just take 50 gallons, 75 gallons of sludge out of there and move on to the next project. Very simple to do, takes about 2 seconds, and generally that cost is included in the cost of the maintenance. Repairs, again, we have an air pump replacement, $325, 10 to 15 years is the manufacturer's recommended lifespan of our air pumps. We've had our systems in the ground now for about 7 years, starting off with the pilot program when this first originally started, and we haven't replaced an air pump yet, so we're good for 7 so far, and we'll keep going with that. Same with the recirculation pump, $400 to replace it. And again, we've had a couple of pumps that we've had to replace, but it was more like you can't always, they weren't anything that the pump just is not good. They're very good pumps. It's just that sometimes you get a lemon and sometimes you don't. Everybody has those problems. Anyway, all right, so next slide, please. Okay, and aesthetics. So here's 2 incidences where we have a tank very close to the home where we can put a plant bed. This is all, it's all about landscaping. And, you can see over on the left side there, we have the 2 manhole covers. Right now, you can't even see those manhole covers because those flowers have grown in. This picture was taken probably 2 years ago. And behind those, there's a hedgerow behind there. That's where the control panel is. You really can't see it there at all, but you can see how you can hide these things pretty much where you'll never even see them. Over on the right is another one right by the front door. Put a rock there, put some grasses. Again, same thing. I took that picture on an angle so you can see where the tank is. But right now, with those bushes that have grown together and the grasses that have gotten a little bit thicker and stuff, you don't even see the tank. You don't even know it's there. And the control panel for that is on the other side of the house. Next slide, please. That was the plant bed option. This is the grass option with a front walk going straight past it through the front yard. We come across these all the time. But see, there's your footprint. The 2 manhole covers, 24-inch in diameter, green to match the grass. They blend pretty well. They can be painted. You can do pretty much a lot of things that you want to do with our concrete tanks. We have them in cast iron, and they can be painted. The one thing I wanted to show in this slide is the control panel is visible there. I don't think anybody's going to be able to see it, but if you look to the manhole that's in the center of the picture, and there's that holly tree straight up. Yeah, right. Yeah, there it is. That is where the control panel is, behind those grasses down low. You cannot see it, nor can you hear it. There's the small air pump in there. You basically walk right past there. You never even know it's there. Okay, next slide, I think, and that's it for my presentation. Obviously, this is my contact information. If you have any questions or would like to schedule a meeting for us to come into your office, to your home, anywhere, I'm sure I speak for myself and many of the other manufacturers out there, representatives, that we would by all means come in and sit down and go over our system in a lot more detail, and help you out any way we can. So I thank you for your time. And thanks very much to the county for all their hard work. And it's been great working with everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. We really appreciate you spending the time for this presentation. Are there any hydro action specific questions at this time?
Well, I'm just going to observe, and it really applies to all these installations, that as Irma Bombeck once said, the grass is always greener over the septic tank. But I think what we were also looking to do, and I'm reminded in some of the landscaping that Joe pictured surrounding a couple of the hydro action systems, and that is the movement to native plantings. And why is that a positive? Well, because we know all that grass that you're looking at is getting fertilized, and it's not as impacting as we know as the wastewater is, but certainly is the second leading contributor to nitrogen loading. And I think if we could see more graphics of that caliber, where we've suggested to folks that maybe they don't want to have these traditional green lawns anymore, that would be a plus. And these subliminal messages where you see these systems and they're surrounded by these really kind of beautiful, distinct landscaping. So I think it's the way to go in the future. So thanks for leading the way on that one, Joe. Appreciate it.
Yep. No problem. Anytime.
All right, well, thanks again, Joe, and he'll be on for any other additional questions, comments later on. Now I'm going to proceed to the next presenter. Freeze on me. Oh. All right, we have Brian McGowan and Kevin McGowan here from Advanced Wastewater Solutions to discuss the FujiClean system.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
So you can go to the next slide. We're Brian and Kevin McGowan. We run FujiClean for Long Island. FujiClean is the worldwide leader in on-site treatment systems. They've got over 3 million installed worldwide.
Hey, Brian, it's a little hard to hear you. If you could just speak up a little bit more. Thank you.
All right. Excuse me, sorry. FujiClean's got over 3 million systems installed worldwide. We're just got over 800 installed on Long Island. It's a very small footprint. These things have been engineered over and over again since 1961. They're commonplace throughout Japan, Asia, Australia, and other parts of the US. It's a very small footprint. It's a Category 1 system. There's no moving parts inside the FujiClean. There's no pumps, agitators, no filters to replace. There's nothing really to repair or fix inside the treatment tank. It's all plastic and fiberglass, and it's all powered by an air blower. The units come pre-assembled. They're ready to put right in the ground. They're very lightweight. They're very small, so you can maneuver them around. You can slide them on the grass. The 4-bedroom systems weigh 460 pounds. Very quiet. It's library quiet. It's less than 40 decibels. We have one right in our office for our bathroom, and you can't even hear it. It's very low power consumption. It's 1.1 kilowatt hours a day. It equals to about $68 a year. They're at grade installation. They're very shallow systems, so you can go, they're 5.5 foot tall. We have H20 options for all tanks, where you can do plug and play for the smaller systems right into a single drainage ring with a custom top that goes on for same day installation. Again, they're very light and lowest cost system for 4-bedroom to purchase, operate, maintain, and install. Next slide, please. We have huge plants in Japan. There's 3 plants in Japan. There's over 500 employees, 30 full-time engineers. They make about 50,000 to 60,000 treatment systems every year. We are the main distribution port for all of East Coast of the US. We sell tanks all the way to New Mexico and distribute throughout. The smallest tank is manufactured in Maine. We're bringing manufacturing to Long Island in the fall. where we're going to be making the fiberglass tanks and assembling them right on Long Island for all tank sizes. Next slide, please. You can see how small these things are. They fit in the back of a pickup truck. Very easy to maneuver. You can install them with a mini excavator. We do a lot of jobs on Fire Island where we got to hand carry them around the property. Next slide, please. It's all powered by the small air blower that you can remote away from the system up to 100 feet. So a lot of the times we're seeing these along property lines where they're hidden behind a hedgerow or some bushes and plantings and things. You'll see 3 lids at grade, and you can hide these pretty well. We provide all the materials that come with it, all the conduit. We have a green enclosure box for the blower that goes right underneath the control panel. Control panel is 8 by 8 inches and is gray in color. Next slide. These are the different size models. We have from a 500 gallon per day system, a 700 gallon per day system, a 1,000 gallon per day system, a 1,350 gallon per day, and a 1,900 gallon per day. These can be run in parallel, and we have a job that we're doing next week that we're doing 12,000 gallons a day system. We have another one that's going in pretty soon. That's it's over 100 townhomes, and they're doing clustered systems for about 35,000 gallons a day. Next slide, please. Testing results, these things test right around 10 milligrams a liter. They've been doing pretty good. We check them frequently, and it seems like they've been all pretty much hitting the averages across the board. Next slide. So the system's a lot different than most of the other ones. The influent goes into the first sedimentation chamber. All the solids settle out and the grease and fats float to the top. The clear effluent then migrates through the baffle wall into the second chamber, which is the anaerobic chamber. And then it has to upwell through a media bed of all these plastic balls that just have tons of surface area that promote anaerobic bacterial growth. And the nitrogen oxides decompose into nitrogen gas and affix to those balls. Part of the maintenance is we go and we penetrate that media bed with a rod to dislodge the nitrogen gas, and you can watch it erupt out of the effluent and drop the entire tank level. It's pretty satisfying to see it working, knowing that all the nitrogen is just now going out into the atmosphere. Once it upwells through that anaerobic chamber, it goes through another baffle wall into the third chamber, which is the aerobic chamber, where there's 2 different types of plastic media that promote the aerobic bacterial and microbe growth. And that's where they oxygenate and promote decomposition and removal of ammonia, nitrogen, and suspended solids. Any of that will slough down to the bottom of the chamber, and through the airlift of the blower, it allows it to create recirculation and sucks up any of that sloughed off microbes and any kind of solid matter that's made it to the third chamber, and sends it back along with some oxygenated effluent into the first chamber to help complete the nitrogen cycle. It does about 24 to 36 hour retention time, and it has an airlift where it meters out the effluent. So it's not one in, one out. It holds the effluent, treats it over a longer period of time, and meters it out at like tablespoon intervals, where it just sends a small little trickle out to the drain field. So you really don't have a lot of options of inundating a drain field, because it's trying to hold that effluent to treat it over a longer period of time and dose it out in a small little volumes. Next slide, please. Small system, they're really easy to install. These are some waterfront properties where now you can't even see the lids are covered in beach grass and and in a planting bed in the front of the house. Next slide. Some of H20, we've done a lot of comfort stations. We just did Smith Point's Tiki Joe's beach stand at Smith Point. We did a bunch of golf courses for the county. We're doing another village comfort station for East Hampton. We're getting ready to do some Southampton beaches. We've got a bunch of big commercial projects that we're in the middle of. Next slide. That's our contact information. You can call or email us at any time. Be happy to discuss any projects that you have and help any way that we can. Next slide. Here's an invoice that we had gotten for a new construction that was done. We offer the 4-bedroom at $7,200 for Libby members. We've done a little bit of a discount for any Libby members. It includes delivery, installation, the risers and everything, all the accessories, and a free year of operations and maintenance. The difference really, Joe has touched upon this as well as Tom. It's all right in line, right around $6,800, $6,000. You know, East End, the install of a septic tank is a little different than Western Suffolk. We see more in line of like $8,000 to $10,000 for a traditional septic. So the cost difference isn't as large, but we do see probably around $65,000 to $7,000 in difference between the two. Next slide here. I think the next slide is just another example of a system going in for a 4-bedroom for new construction. And that's it.
Okay. Yes. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Kevin, for explaining and educating us about the FujiClean system. Are there any Fuji specific questions out there right now or comments? Mr. Dale?
I was going to make an inappropriate statement, something in effect. Do these systems come with a side of sushi, or what? I think it's a great. I think it'd be a great giveaway myself.
Japanese whiskey. Sushi doesn't hold very well.
Great. All right. Well, thank you very much for explaining the treatment process of that system and everything else that goes along with it.
Thank you guys for all your hard work and putting this together. Have a great day.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
All right. We are then going to continue on to the next presentation, which is before the Arenco technology. Today we have Jim Healy from Arenco and Tom O'Dwyer from Nugent and Potter.
Pretty sure you just have me today. I'm Jim
Okay.
Healy. I work for Arenco. I guess I'm a little bit of an outsider. I'm a Massachusetts guy. Have yet to come down to Long Island to take a look at the program you guys have going on, but I've sort of observed it from afar, and it seems like you've got it together pretty well. And,
Hey, Jim, how'd those Bruins do against the Islanders yesterday?
Not so well, not so well, but there's always next year, I guess. So looks like the fans were enjoying that quite a bit. All right, next slide, please, Julia. This is me. I did not put this presentation together. So once again, I guess really the gist of this is I've sold Arenco for distribution on Cape Cod. I have a lot of experience, obviously, here in Massachusetts with the product. Once again, from what I can tell, I read some of your regulations. It all looks, it's very similar. The design criteria, the regulations. So the experience I bring to the table, I think would translate pretty well over there. You can go to the next slide, please. So this is our system. Our system is an AX20. Basically, this is a depiction of it. You've got a standard septic tank. Can you guys see my cursor, or do you have to use your cursor on the, there you go. Okay, so starts with a septic tank, 2-compartment with a shared liquid level. Basically, you're going to bring your influent in from the left, from the house. We're going to give you about 1,000 gallons of storage in there. You're going to have your scum's going to rise to the top. Your sludge is going to drop to the bottom. You've got a clear zone in the middle. That's going to go into the second compartment through a flow-through port. where you've got basically clear effluent. We have a recirculation pump chamber in that back compartment. And what that's going to do is that's going to recirculate effluent up through our packed bed media filter, which is that green box up to the right. And basically the way we're going to set the floats in our recirculating splitter valve, it's going to recirculate 4 times before it goes out to discharge. So that's going to give you your BOD and TSS treatment, which typically I think we're somewhere in the 10 and under range. I know we've been hitting our nitrogen numbers at less than 19 milligrams per liter. It's a robust system, gives you plenty of storage. And it's also a very dependable system. I guess I didn't touch on it. Orenco's been around since 1981. Started life as a company that developed the parts and pieces for recirculating sand filters, which is a technology that's used in the western half of the US. And from there, we developed, if you can go to the next slide. So we took the basics of a recirculating sand filter, where you take effluent and you just run it through a sand filter 3-4 times before you run it out to a drain field. And we came up with a textile media. That's what it looks like. If you can go to the next slide. That's our filter pod. That's that green box that's going to sit adjacent or on top of a septic tank. And you can't really get a good look at it there, but we're hanging sheets. It's like a file cabinet. There are sheets that are hanging vertically. You've got passive aeration. You've got a vent that goes into that filter pod. So basically what you're doing, you've got a pipe manifold up on top, and that's going to spray clear effluent down. It's going to filter down through the filter pods. So you've got air, you've got effluent, you've got surface area, so you've got biological activity, and that's where you get your treatment. If you could go to the next slide. That's a picture of our biotube pump vault. That's what you saw in the back half of the septic tank. This is kind of one of the first products that Orenco developed many, many moons ago. Just a couple of things. It's a filtered pump vault. You've got a couple of inlet ports that come in up above on the right-hand side. It goes down through one of our biotube filters. It goes over into the pump portion of the vault. And that's what's going to do your recirculation up through your through our filter pod. We use a high head effluent pump. They're basically well pumps, and they're designed for somewhere along the line of 1 million start-stop cycles. So it's a very dependable product. It's a high head product. You're typically pumping clear effluent, so you're not generally going to have too much of a problem with that. Next slide, please. All right, this is a plan view of what one of our systems looks like. This has a pump discharge on it. So you've got, once again, your effluent is coming in from the left into the inlet. It's going to run through the septic tank, go into the back half of it. It's going to run up through the filter pod. It's going to come back down. And then, Julia, right? I'm pointing it out on my computer. Keep going left. Keep going left. Keep going, keep going, keep going. You see a little T right there up above that? So what we have, that's called a recirculating splitter valve. So essentially what that's going to do is it's going to take the filtrate coming out of the filter pod, and it's going to dump it back into the septic tank, where it goes around that 4-to-1 recirculation. And then based on the way the floats are set, and then we have a couple of, we have essentially what's a check valve inside. Once the level of the tank rises high enough, then the effluent, the filtrate is going to, it's actually going to be redirected to a pump chamber off to the left, and then it's going to go out to a drain field. I suppose that will be a pressurized, shallow, narrow drain field. Cost for this type of system, up to 4 bedrooms, including the septic tank, 3 years of O&M. The system complete would be right around $24,000, just under. So that's for a pressurized discharge system. If you could go to the next slide. So this would be a gravity system. Once again, it's essentially the same system. It just doesn't have a pump chamber. You're not pumping to your drain field. Looks like you're going to save about $3,000 with that type of an application. And once again, that includes the 3 years of O&M. We're the same pretty much as anybody else. A couple times a year to come in, take a look at the system. Typically, in all my experience in working with these things over the years, very few replacement parts. Everything we build is very robust. It's just a matter of opening up the lid, taking a look, making sure everything's okay. Typically a very dependable product. If you could go to the next slide. Pictures of a couple of installations. Once again, pretty similar to a standard septic system. On the left-hand slide, you can see that's the filter pod sitting on top of the septic tank, perpendicular to the tank. You've got your inlet right there. Your inlet riser is right there. Then in the middle is the filter pod. On the backside, you're going to have your discharge riser. This one has pump to it's pumping to discharge. The left-hand side of the slide, that's a pre-manufactured lift station that Nugent and Potter would make, utilizing our products on the inside. One other word, there's a single control panel that controls both the discharge and the the recirculation and the discharge pumping for a pump panel. And one other feature that we have is we have something called Vericom, where you can, the control panel hooks up it comes in remotely to Orenco. So if you did have an alarm situation, the alarm would not sound at the house. The alarm would, we would get an alarm signal at Orenco, and then we would let the service provider know, and then they could get in touch with the homeowner for whatever problem that they might be having. Next slide, please.
And Jim, this is actually how it's installed, right? With this.
Yeah, that's an installation. Yep.
That's not just placed there. It'll get filled around and that's it.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yep. Next installation should show a finish. There it is. Okay. That's what the finished installation looks like. It looks to me like the filter pod is parallel with the septic tank in that one. You're always going to have that, it's about a 3 foot by 9 foot cover. And one of the benefits I see to that is, once again, like anything else, you could, it looks like in this particular case, they didn't spend a lot of time with landscaping. But once again, that's what you're going to typically see at grade. We have a lot of systems in Massachusetts and Rhode Island where, once again, these things are hidden by landscaping. I've seen people put a couple of chairs and a table on top of the lid to hide it. But once again, easy access for service. Nothing's hidden under the ground, easily accessible. All of those lids are made of fiberglass. All the lids are fastened, everything's watertight. Once again, a very robust, dependable system. Next slide, please. So our local rep is Nugent and Potter in Southampton. So once again, anybody wants to get in touch, you can email or call me, or Tom at Nugent and Potter. Thanks very much. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, this is Tom from Nugent. Can you guys see me?
Hey, Tom.
I just wanted to add a couple things from the local side. I'm based out here in Suffolk County. I've been with Nugent Potter coming up on 3 years now. We've been very involved with the IAOWTS industry. We carry all the Orenco products, which are highly customizable for different jobs. We build our own pump stations. We come up with unique solutions for challenging wastewater environments. We also carry all of the shallow and alternative bleaching products. So that's really our expertise, such as PSD systems, Elgin, Geomatrix, Infiltrator, among others. Piping, filter fabric, all of that kind of, all those kind of products that are going to happen, after the treatment system, we can help you out with. I'm a licensed professional engineer. I work with Nugent Potter as an in-house technical rep. So anytime a builder or architect or engineer has some questions from the design perspective, they can reach out to me. I can help you, put together a design that's health department compliant. We have a lot of the different CAD files, as well as all the Orenco CAD files that we can help share with builders and contractors and other engineers and architects as well. A few things I wanted to hit on with just to kind of supplement the presentation is that the AX20 products there's a couple different options you can do there. It's not just one layout. there's a couple different septic tank options. You can go with a precast option or use a lightweight Roth tank, which is a more shallow, high groundwater application. Also, the Orenco AX20 has the potential to be a deeper bury system than a lot of the other IA systems. Because pumping up to the treatment pod is part of the process, we can put a precast tank a little deeper down and then have the pump and the treatment pod accessible at grade. So if you have a deeper invert on an existing home and you need more than a 2-foot riser, this might be a product that may work for that application. I also wanted to put in that the Orenco treatment is the only system that physically filters the effluent wastewater as part of the process. So we have really low TSS and BOD numbers, which will result in better longevity for drain fields, you know, with poor soils or high groundwater applications. So I just wanted to add those things. I'm always available. My information's right there. You can write it down. You can email me any questions you may have. You could reach out to Jim specifically for Orenco information. He has an expertise in that, and that's all.
Thank you for that addition, Tom. The local view. Are there any Orenco specific questions or comments at this time? All right, we'll carry on to our last technology presentation of the day regarding the SeptiTech technology.
Hi, this is Bob Eichinger and John Lindahl, Clear River Environmental. So we've really got two business models. We've got Clear River Environmental, where we sell and install 4 of the 5 approved systems. And then we're also the exclusive distributor for SeptiTech Long Island. The picture you see on the front page there is a Star, SeptiTech Star 1.5 going in 3rd house in Montauk under construction. Julia, next, please. Just some quick highlights on Clear River Environmental. We've got over 100 years of conventional and advanced septic system experience. So we've got 4 installation crews. You know, some days we're putting in 2 or 3 systems a day. We've done a lot of IA systems, and we certainly, you know, with some of the slowdown on the funding end, have continued to do a lot more conventional systems. We look forward to getting that mix back more in favor of IA. We've got 3 Suffolk County locations, 2 in Ronkonkoma, and then we've got a yard in Calverton. We've got a little over 10,000 customers, residential, government, commercial, and municipal. We have a fleet of about 80 vehicles. So we have, you know, pump trucks, tankers, excavating equipment, vans, you name it, we have it. We've added, the most recent thing that we've probably added to our business is we're starting to do a lot of environmental remediation. We're a 24/7 service company for both emergency plumbing and certainly for any IA activity. I mentioned 4 installation crews already. We're the largest IA installation company on Long Island. You know, SeptiTech Long Island, we are the exclusive distributor for. And then we also install Fuji, Hydro Action, and Norweco. We've installed a little over 300 IAs in Long Island. We do all the advanced dispersal systems. Tom started to mention some of those: infiltrator chambers, infiltrator ATL, Elgins, Geomat, and GST. Next slide, please. We looked at this more from an installed price in terms of comparison, but if I just looked at SeptiTech for a 4-bedroom materials only, you'd be at about $7,900. Our prices here that we're showing are installed prices. So for SeptiTech, an existing is connecting to an existing leaching structure is really not applicable for Libby, but the gravity, which would be number 2, and then the pressurized number 3, gravity is about $16,700. That's an installed price. So that's for the system installed, everything ready to go. On the pressurized side, it'd be $18,600 if it's with our injection mold infiltrator tanks. If it's concrete tanks, you know, you can look, it's about another $2,000. On the Norweco end, gravity leaching structure, installed system material and installed, $17,500. On the Hydro Action side, gravity, again, material and installed, $16,750. If it's pressurized, about $22,300. Fuji, gravity, $16,940, and pressurized, $19,915. Next slide, please. These are just some basic pictures. That's a hydro action in Quogue up there on the left. The middle picture to the right there, that's the West Sayville Golf Course where we installed two of Brian and Kevin's Fujis, a Sen 21 and a Sen 5. That's that picture. Straight down is again that same install. To the right is again that same install. Down on the bottom there is a hydro action residential in Mastic Beach with groundwater at about 14 inches. To the left on the bottom is again the West Sayville Golf Course. You can see the big Sen 21 in the background there. Yep, right there. And then on the left is again the West Sayville. And right above that is a Pio Lombardo nitric system on the East End in the Hamptons. Thank you, Julia. Next. Septitech basics. I mean, the biggest thing with Septitech is it's a two-tank system. It's a septic tank going to a treatment tank. And we've got both residential and commercial models. It goes from 500 gallons per day design flow up to as much as 150,000 gallons per day design flow. Septitech has first installs were in 1998. So it's a very steady, proven system, primarily a denitrifying system. It's got a biological trickling filter technology. There's 3 built-in pumps. They're small. We've got a recirc pump where we take any excess sludge back to the head of the septic tank. We've got an aeration pump, and then we've got a built-in dispersal pump. So for any pressurized system, we've got a built-in dispersal pump. Once an hour, 24 hours a day, a small dose goes out to the drain field. I've been doing advanced systems for, I guess, a little over 15 years, primarily up in the Hudson River Valley for the New York City watershed. And, time dosing is a terrific way to go, especially when you have sensitive soil conditions. Next, please. This is just, again, the Septitech basics. So, coming out of the house, you've got the sanitary pipe going, septic tank for settling. One of the things we like, and especially when you start to see any kind of houses that are going to be rental properties or where you're going to have a lot of weekend activity, it's always a good idea, in my opinion, to have a septic tank in front of the treatment tank to keep all the undesirables and et cetera out of the more sensitive media in the treatment tank. Septitech has, we use what are called pillows, which is, bags full of small polystyrene beads. That's where the healthy bacteria is going to sit. For the commercial systems, we also have hard plastic balls, not dissimilar to what Fuji has. Next slide, please. Specific to Septitech, again, if it was material cost only, it's about $7,900. What we looked at, if you look at the middle number there, for a gravity fed system, $16,700 if it's the infiltrator plastic tanks. And you'll see the black tank there to the right on the small excavator. That would be that tank. And then we've got concrete, both H10 and H20 traffic bearing would be about $18,720. And again, these are material and installed prices. When you look at the pressurized, it would be for plastic, $18,600. And for a concrete, $20,620 material and installed. We're obviously approved for Suffolk County. I'm assuming based on everything that we've got underway here, going to be the same thing for Nassau County, certainly for New York State grants, and then for the CPF towns that are offering IA grants, East Hampton, Shelter Island, and Southampton. Other system costs, our O&M is $250 a year for the smaller models, goes up to $300 a year for the larger. Electric is about $17 a month, and pump out every 3 to 5 years or as needed. If we were doing that, it's about $375. The pictures you see there on the bottom is a Septitech Star 0.75, which is our 5 and 6 bedroom. And you'll see two lids for the septic, 2 lids for the treatment. Right above that that's a Star 0.5, which is a 1,000-gallon tank. Plastic getting ready to go in. And then up above that is an installed at rough grade Star 0.5, where you see the 4 lids there. Thanks, Julia. The next slide. Septitech applications. The picture you see up on the upper right there, those are commercial H20 Septitech systems in a parking lot. So we'll do residential, single family, multi subdivisions, certainly manufactured housing, schools. And then on the commercial end, small municipal, decent, up to about 150,000 gallons a day on a more medium-sized to large municipal. Septatech's very good on high-strength wastewater, so, things you see coming in particular out of applications like restaurants and breweries, golf courses, camps, you name it, we've done it. Next slide, please. Those are that picture you see up right there where Julia's got the cursor over. Those are the polystyrene bead pillows that you'll see in there. That smaller compartment up on the top, that's where the built-in discharge pump is. That's going to go out to the drain field. On the right, you just see us starting to put a Septatech Star 0.5 residential in the ground. Down below is the first system that we installed. That's in Stony Brook, and we've got the lids off there because we're doing a planned maintenance. The septic tanks are the first two on the left, and the treatment tank is on the right. As I mentioned, design flow 500 to 150,000 gallons. Big advantage of Septatech in the residential models comes both plastic and or commercial and or concrete. We've got almost 200 systems installed in Long Island. We're averaging right now about 13.45 on the nitrogen. TSS and BOD is right around 10. So we think very good, steady numbers. Next slide, please. Any questions? This is how you can reach us, either myself, Bob Eichinger, or John Lindahl, who's here to my right. And thank you for your time, and we're happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Bob and John. We really appreciate you teaching us about the Septatech as well as everything else Clear River has to offer. Are there any specific questions for Bob or John right now?
So Bob, you had one of the preliminary or earlier slides, I should say, a number of four different systems. Clearly you are installing these in various locations. And given obviously that you primarily represent Septatech, you do, however, install other systems. Is there any breakdown in terms of both numbers of the various systems that you've installed that you could cite, and then comparative, evaluations, given the understanding again that you do come from the Septatech region, but you are looking at other systems with other applications in the spirit of how you might approach different job sites with specific installations.
Yeah, Dorian. I mean, for us, it's all driven by the design professional. Whatever the design professional is going to design, whether it's a Septatech, a Fuji, a Hydroaction, or a Norweco in our case, that's, as Clear River Environmental, as an installer, that's what we're going to then, turn around and quote and provide. It's a dual business model. Our business model is Septatech Long Island, we believe, has a great fit wherever you need a 2-tank system, a concrete system, a built-in pressurized. But, in terms of numbers on the rest, we've put in probably, 60 to 70 Norwecos. I would say close to the same number on Fujis, Hydroactions, probably a little more, maybe 80 Hydroactions. So, that's kind of the breakdown. But for us, we really let the design professional, guide what we're going to do. Different systems, fit well for different applications. Brian, made his pitch clear on Fuji. Tom did on Norweco, and Joe did as well on Hydroaction. Fuji's a small footprint, single tank, small footprint that can fit very nicely. Hydroaction has, terrific treatment numbers, as does Fuji. Norweco's got the concrete tank option, and I think Tom is coming out with another model as well. So, it just really depends on what the design professional, the homeowner, and or the small commercial project's looking for. I don't know if that answered your question. I hope it did.
It did. Very thorough. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.
And Julie, I'm going to, at this point, maybe prompt. I know that we obviously, Mitch has asked at least one question, but I also noted that there are at least two others from Libby, Vince Calvosa, and Barry Lipsky, and it would be great to get their input and queries at this point in time for the industry, if they're willing to do so. Crickets.
All right. Well, I want to express my appreciation to the staff and to representatives of all the companies involved who worked so hard to put together the presentations. I certainly wish that the information was made available to more individuals from Libby. Well, I know we can post this information. I know that people can benefit from these presentations. We can make it available to all members, Mitch, but if you think a redo would be a possibility.
But let me send it out first. If Julia could send it to me, I will send it out to all of my builders, my architects, and my engineers, and have them go through it. Hopefully, they will find it beneficial. I found it very beneficial, and I thank all the people who are involved in setting it up, both from the health department and from the individual businesses.
Nope.
I learned a lot.
Hey.
I'll tell you that much.
Yep.
And so I'm going to get it out to all the people who are involved in it, and we'll go from there. Hopefully, they will have either questions or contact one of the companies directly, which is what I would recommend if they have a specific company or a question about a specific type of the system. They can contact the company directly because you provided the contact information. So it may or may not be necessary to get back together. They may find it beneficial just to call the individual companies and talk to them about individual issues in that regard.
Okay, but you can see that a lot of time and trouble was spent trying to
Yes.
to create information here. We venture a guess that individual members may be less familiar with the technologies.
Yeah.
You have guys here who have invested in this industry and who are making it work in Suffolk County. They're anxious to develop relationships with people in Libby and show them that they can be cost competitive. So I think we're looking for any opportunity we can to continue a two-way dialogue. So let us know. We're perfectly willing to schedule another event and get a more robust turnout.
Okay. Well, we did have with the health department one presentation already that we did on Zoom. I can't remember how many months ago it was, but it was a few months ago. And I know there have been conversations between builders and some of the companies as a result of that presentation. And I'm hopeful that it will also help in regard to, the new date of July 1 as companies decide, move into that process. Many of them are building homes at the moment that, because they were scheduled before July 1 or under the old rules. And so they may not yet be ready to move forward with new homes yet because they're building the ones they've already contracted for. But obviously that's going to happen soon. And, we'll make this information available to everybody. And if I can, I'll even put some of it into my magazine each month so that it will reach even a larger audience in that regard, because I do want to, obviously the rule is going to be the rule, and we want the companies that are headquartered in Suffolk County and building in Suffolk County to provide the information. So we will take care of that.
All right,
Okay,
great.
so very